This case study takes a look at a Department of Revenue. In this case, it's for the state of Oregon. We've never done work there, but this is just based on what I can interpret from their website. So overall, we want to be able to build for them a balanced scorecard. To do that, we're going to take a look at their existing documentation about what their strategic objectives are, mission, vision, values, and so forth. The state of Oregon seems to have done a good job of needing to make it clear to organizations that do business in the state what the state is going to offer to them and the tax-paying citizens as the fair deal. So we're going to use the standard four perspectives: financial, in this case stakeholders instead of customers, because that's in the public sector how we look at them; internal, and enablers instead of learning and growth. So enablers gives us a broader view of what is typically in that perspective. Now, in the public sector, of course, our topmost objective is not to achieve financial success, but rather to make our stakeholders happy. To do that, we need the right internal processes. To have the right processes, we need the right enablers. And then the foundation, of course, is that financial budget and stewardship responsibility. So in this case, we can go back to those documents we looked at and frisk it for what's the core mission statement, and then more importantly, what are the specific objectives that this department is accountable for delivering. So again, the work and the thinking's already gone into this. We don't have to redo that. We just have to harvest the core statements that they've made. Then what we need to do is organize those into the four perspectives. So in this case, the tax group talks about what their stakeholders want, which is, of course, making sure the tax system works. We have to help the local governments. We have to be carefully safeguarding the taxpayer money and their confidentiality, and be honest, fair, and open. Internally, and so forth. So we can define the objectives, and of course we begin working on the cause and effect relationship between these objectives to tell the overall strategy story for the organization. So overall, we have to make the tax systems work. To do that, there's three things we need to do: help local governments, carefully safeguard taxpayer money and confidentiality, and be honest, fair, and open. To do that, our internal processes begin with consulting with our employees, of course it's citizens and the taxpayers. And if we do this, we can begin to figure out how we can make the tax systems better. And by doing that and consulting with our stakeholders, we can make sure that compliance is simpler, faster, and cheaper. And if we do this, that will underpin local government support, safeguarding taxpayer money, and being honest, fair, and open. And underpinning all of that are the value, respect, and appreciate all diversity across the workforce, being highly ethical in how we conduct business, and maintaining our quality within the workforce. Now, eventually we should be able to take this and prioritize it for this year's objectives. This is a conversation amongst the various stakeholders and the politicians. In this case, we see a high focus on driving towards meeting stakeholder requirements, and in particular making compliance simpler, faster, and cheaper. Now, it's important to note that that's at the agency level. As we cascade it down to different groups within the agency, they'll each have a different strategy map that describes their contribution to the overall strategic objectives. So, for example, if we have an objective like deliver the right services, maybe operations, they've got to build the right services. Service needs to make sure that they've got, faster support, for example. The field team, maybe they have to deliver with agility, and IT, something like enable self-help. The net is, the strategy map, we can then begin to populate with the existing measures. And again, in the government, there's no shortage of data and metrics which are available. In this particular case, they've been using a ComStat system for some time and have a whole bunch of data that's available around each strategic objective. The problem here for the state wasn't so much of identifying the data, but rather providing one simple view of the data that was accessible to everyone, so we can begin to see how we've been performing against those strategic objectives.